So let me invite our final panelist, Alex Boulougouris, the CFA and co-head research at Wood & Company. Welcome, thanks for joining us today, and looking forward to your comments.
Thank you, Joanna, and many thanks for the invitation. Hello, everybody. Indeed, I work from Wood & Company, and we are quite active in the region. We are looking at mostly the equity markets in Greece, Cyprus, and Turkey, but we are active all over emerging Europe. I mean, we are optimistic, as the panelists said before. We think that the region can indeed grow post-COVID, obviously. Cyprus in particular and Greece, that I will look more closely, I think they have the capacity to return to a growth pattern that is, I think, above average, let's say. I mean, Cyprus, if we look historically, it has done an amazing recovery post the banking crisis it faced in 2013. With growth rates of 3 to 4% every year. I think the main reason for this impressive performance since 2013 has been that the government of Cyprus has taken serious ownership of the reforms taking place. And this has been, I think, instrumental in bringing and in making the country more competitive, improving tourist flows, continuing the solid performance in the financial services business, and so on. And now, obviously, the pandemic has interrupted this process. And the question, of course, is whether we can return back to these pre-COVID growth rates as soon as the, let's say, vaccine is found. I mean, there are some vulnerabilities in Cyprus. For example, the NPLs in the system remain quite high. Payment culture is rather weak still, despite all the efforts that have been made. This maybe has been exacerbated recently by the very generous moratoriums introduced, which is far more generous than other EU countries. Maybe other vulnerabilities include that part of the growth is attributed to reasons that may not be sustainable in the long run. For example, domestic consumption and the property market growth. And I would say also that restructuring of the public sector and union has been relatively soft, despite the efforts that have been made. Having said that, I mean, there are clearly, I think, we're still optimistic because the banking system has made serious progress in recapitalizing, in proceeding with large transactions, in selling NPLs. So I think that definitely the reforms taken place over the past couple of years will start to bear fruit post-COVID. We have seen a strengthening of household insolvency laws, the absorption of cooperative banks. All this has made the system far more sustainable in order to be able to withstand the COVID impact, which is also significant. But also to be able after that to grow, I think, at a decent pace. Now, on the fiscal side, the Cyprus has been generated very solid primary surplus over the past few years. So I think the country stands probably ahead of its European peers, as the return to deficits that we see at the moment is due to the pandemic and not a structural issue. So I think the return to primary surpluses for Cyprus could be actually easier for European peers. And in order to keep this positive momentum, I would say that the overall performance, even in 2020, which is the year of COVID, and in Cyprus, where the country is quite dependent on tourism, is actually better than Eurozone averages. So the country will not decline and the recession will not be steeper than the Eurozone, despite tourism accounting for about 20% of GDP. And in addition, I would say that the public debt to GDP, although it has increased to 115% approximately, it should be this year, it definitely does not stand out compared to other European countries anymore as it used to in the past. So I think there is a reason for optimism, definitely. And I think there are good grounds that once COVID starts a vaccine is found or whatever, I think we're going to see growth returning to hopefully the pre-COVID era, but let's see, definitely something better than the average 1 or 2%, I would say. Now in Greece, the situation is a bit different, touching a bit upon Greece as well. I mean, the country was growing at a slower pace before the pandemic, and 2020 was supposed to be the year that Greece will grow above average, and enjoy all the reforms that have been made over the past 10 years. So it was really bad luck, let's say, but it's not all doom and gloom. Certainly, Greece has become far more competitive, and we see that in the strong growth in exports and tourism. The banking system has also been recapitalized and in better shape. And also here, the government appears committed in proceeding with the reform efforts, proceeding with privatizations. And I think this is the key at the end of the day, taking ownership of all these reforms, which maybe was not evident in the past and led to both Greece and Cyprus going into a crisis and gradually getting away from it. So, yes, to finalize, I think we are optimistic that post-COVID, these countries have a decent growth opportunity ahead of them. Thank you.